Good morning. It's good to have you join us on Nigeria Now, showing on your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS Television. My name is Merciful Ajinamo. And join us in the studio this morning to analyze some newspapers is Adebayo Fajmi. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you
Good
very
morning.
much. Good morning.
Let's begin from the Daily Trust newspaper. The banner headline there on that paper is How Bandits Ambushed Killed 63 Vigilantes in Kebbi. We have two writers. The first, Informants leaked plan to repel bandit attack. And the second, Buhari urges proactive action. And of course, our story is on page 5 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And now, we know that vigilantes are a force that, have decided to support the security architecture of the country to help in combating insecurity and terrorism. And now we're seeing the amount of vigilantes killed in Kebbi. What's your reaction on this story?
Yeah, it is sad, and it's very sad, honestly. But I think, in winning the war against banditry, terrorism, and insecurity that we are faced with, there is need for us to also take personal responsibility as citizens, because we cannot put everything on government. These bandits, terrorists, live within our community. So now, if there is a plan, to repel an attack, so how did those people get the information? So that tells us that they live among us, and whoever indulges in this heinous act should be exposed. So we cannot say government all the time. Government has its own responsibility. So we have our own responsibility. So if we have any information that can be of help, or that can help the government or the security personnel to ensure that they win this war maximally, we should be able to give it to them. So, and if there is any information that ought not to go outside there, of course we shouldn't. So I think we are doing much, to affect ourselves than we think we are doing. So I think we need to do more to support governments, and that we should stop, blaming the government all the time. Because if this had not happened, I'm not sure these people will have access to credible information to ensure that they repel the attack, and a lot of people were killed.
That story is on page 5 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And still on that paper, from the very top, we see court sack. Ebonyi governor kicks as PDP nominate replacement. That's on page 14 of the Daily Trust. And besides that, airlines groan as aviation fuel exceeds 600 naira per litre. And that's coming on page 22 of the Daily Trust. Governor's wife stormed National Assembly, protest rejection of pro-women bills. We can see the pictures right there on the front page. Of course, that story is on page 3. And then many injured, shops burned as Yoruba Hausa clash in Ogun State. And then Osun governorship, Adeleke picks PDP ticket, Babayemi emerges parallel candidate. Reverend son drills borehole at Kaduna Mosque. All of these stories is on the Daily Trust newspaper. And we move over to, of course, the Blueprint newspaper, and the banner headline there is Defection. Sacked Umahi insists I won't obey court order. We have a couple of writers there, that story. The first one says, alleges trial judge on a mission to embarrass APC. Federal government heads for appeal court. The second, why Ebonyi governor, deputy lawmakers must quit office. Of course, that's coming from court. Declares defection illegal, null, and unconstitutional. Urges INEC to present certificate of return to nominees. PDP nominates Igarewi Idiogu as replacement. That's on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. What do you make of this story on defection?
Well, girl of defection is a political culture in Nigeria, and even though we have a law that governs our electoral processes, but you see these carpetbaggers. Yes, I will put it that way. They are carpetbaggers. Defection from here and there.
Cross-carpeting, different parties.
Cross-carpeting without shame. So, and we see a court, sacking a sitting governor. And, he has the audacity to say he's not going to, obey court
because order. He's still in power.
Because he's still in power. And that is what you experience in Nigeria. So you have impunity everywhere. Now, come to think of it, the law that governs our electoral processes, you cannot contest any election except you belong to a political party. Now, you won an election on the platform of a party, and you left that election, and court is now telling you that you have no right to defect because the ticket you used to
It's on a party.
It's on a
and
party.
he's the sitting governor, so he's supposed to represent that party.
And what you can say is that you are not going to. It's laughable. It's laughable, and that tells you that we need to wise up as citizens, as electorate, because these people have taken us for granted. Because I don't expect something like this from a leader like the governor of Ebonyi State. So it's very pathetic, very, very pathetic.
Of course, the story is on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper from the very top. Electoral Act, despite court order, Senate proceeds with amendment. An APC crisis, only Buhari can ask Buni and I to resign. That's coming from Akpan Udohe. That story continues on page 5 of the Blueprint newspaper. And the banner headline of the Punch newspaper is crude oil price, man warns of hyperinflation, subsidy hits 400 naira, diesel 625 naira. And that's on page 31, of course, of the Punch newspaper. We see a similar pictures of the day right here. Of course, IWD, International Women's Day, close gender gap between women in governance, says minister. Let's quickly move over to the Nation newspaper. APC soft landing for Buni as Bello consolidate. Of course, that's on Yobe. The writer says Yobe Governor Akpanidohi eased out, and then Senate caucus decries uncertainty. That's of course on the front page of the Nation newspaper. And on the Nigerian News Direct paper, we see National Convention. APC adopts report on zoning formula. We have a couple of writers right there. That story is on page 3. And then beside the picture of the day, improved policing system. Improved policing system. IGP orders evacuation of accidented vehicles on registered exhibit from police stations. And of course, that story is on the front page of that newspaper right there. And then we move over, of course, to the Nation newspaper, their story from the very top. We see one story right there talking about Adeleke Babayemi claim Osun PDP governorship ticket. That's on page 27 of the Nation newspaper. And then underneath that, Electoral Act Amendment, court can't stop us, says Senate on page 28. Let's go to Osun State for a bit, talking about the PDP events that is happening in that state. Adeleke Babayemi claimed Osun PDP governorship ticket. What's your reaction to this story?
Well, they are both big wigs in the party, and fortunately, they are from the same Osun West Senatorial District. But don't forget that there are two factions in Osun PDP, just like we have in the APC. But I think the person that INEC is going to recognize is whoever the National Working Committee of the party at the national level recognizes as a flag bearer. So, but I think if the party should go to this election this way, it is really going to affect them, because there has been a lot of crisis, there has been a lot of issues even before now in the party. So Babayemi is not a push offer. So also Senator Nuruddin Ademola Adeleke. So
what should we expect in this case?
Well, I expect if the party really wants to win election this time around, unlike what we have in 2018, they should engage in they should embark on a journey to ensure that the crisis is resolved, because you have former governor of Osun State and Governor Olagunsoye Oyinlola and other big wigs in the party who are not satisfied with what is going on in the party, and most of these leaders are not on the same page. So what do you expect? So how do you win an election when there are groups members, when there are a lot of groups within a party, a lot of dissatisfaction and all of that? So I expect that if the party really wants to win the election and really wants to tackle the incumbent governor Oyetola, they should look for ways very soon to ensure that this crisis is resolved and all the aggrieved members are brought back. I bring back to the table to ensure that they win the election.
All right, that story, of course, can be found on the Nation newspaper on page 27. And we have a couple of other stories, of course, that are on the front pages of these newspapers. Just make sure you grab yourself a copy of any of the newspapers, either if it's physical copy or even an e-copy. Our website is right there, www.tostvnetwork.com, for you to stay updated on happenings, of course, in Nigeria and across Africa. Our social media platform is at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Mr. Adebayo, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, viewers. Don't forget, we'll come your way again tomorrow. My name is Merciful Ajimo. Stay safe. See you tomorrow.